Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to Pod Snipe Celly. My name is
Hi.
Dan Bradley. Alongside me is Joel Fernino. Joel, how you doing tonight, buddy?
All right.
Usually you got more to say than that. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yep.
Joel, you seem pissy tonight. Are you okay?
Not pissy.
Yeah, you are.
No.
What's with all the short answers?
I'm just
Why are
answering
you
your
not
question.
answering my questions?
I did just answer your question.
That's a terrible answer.
You're a terrible answer.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know,
oh God, I
interview
couldn't
today.
keep I almost didn't keep a straight face during that.
Almost. That was tough. For anyone who doesn't know, go look up after the show tonight the Leon Draisaitl interview, where a reporter asked Draisaitl why he was pissy. I mean, it was just honestly, it was tacky more than anything.
It was.
Joel seems sus.
You
Yes.
already know me too well. 12
Joel
episodes in,
always
you know
seems
me
sus.
too well.
That is an evergreen statement.
Excuse me. Back up. No.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's sus is having to go into our Wednesday night picks blind every week, except for this week. Anyway,
that's
continue.
on you for not looking up what games are on the schedule.
It's on you for not sharing with your partner.
We have 3 games a week on Wednesday nights. That's all that's ever there.
This is a democracy, not a dictatorship
Okay,
podcast.
Whatever. We'll save the pick segment for later. But in the meantime, let's go back and do an actual introduction to the show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Pod Snipe Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me is Joel Fernino.
My name Dan Bradley.
This whole show is already off the rails.
My name Joel Fernino.
Me, Gritty.
Gritty, yeah. Oh, we missed out on that one. Anyway, continue.
We did. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Pod Snipe Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me, Joel Fernino. We are on episode number 12. Hello. This is the All-Star edition. We are going to talk a lot about the All-Star game tonight. And as always, that brings in a lot of controversy, a lot of questions, a lot of who deserved it, who didn't. If you have thoughts that you want to share throughout the show, share with us throughout the show. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. We are live on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter. We have something going on with our Facebook page that is keeping us from broadcasting there. I will look into that, so we'll see what we can do at some point. Why use big words when small do?
That's a
great comment there. A+ comment. If you have something that you want to share throughout the show, please let us know. Drop it in the comments below. We'll put it up. We'll read it. We promise not to laugh too hard unless it's actually funny. We'll take you seriously, but we're going to have a good time tonight. Joel, let's jump right into it without getting any more pissy about things. Let's look at the Metro All-Stars. Did you want to introduce? I can't remember. Did you want the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference?
For the record, I'm not actually pissy, everybody. I
Don't
want people important. Adding me. Why are you so pissy? You're usually the cheery one. Yes, I still am the cheery one.
Yeah, we both have our moments of pissiness on this show. That's
true.
Maybe like 60-40.
What were you asking me now? Oh, introducing.
Were you introducing the Eastern or Western All-Stars? This is how little we prepared for the show tonight.
Oh no, we prepared. I was going to take the West if that's okay. But
okay, sure, that's just fine. We'll jump into it then with the Metro All-Stars. The forward group: Sebastian Aho, Claude Giroux, Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, Chris Kreider, Alex Ovechkin, your captain of the Metro All-Stars, Adam Fox, Adam Pelech, Zach Werenski, Freddie Anderson, and Tristan Jarry. A pretty solid all-star selection there. Jake Gensel winning the last man in vote for the Metro Division. Joel, as you take a look at those all-stars, is there anybody that you think maybe doesn't necessarily deserve to be on that list?
I mean, I'd have to look at his numbers again, but I feel like this might be getting too far ahead with the snubs, but I think at least for the Metro, that's where this comes from. I need to look at Anderson's numbers again versus Shesterkin.
Mm-hmm. Anderson is first in the league in just about every goaltending.
Never mind, I guess.
I personally I would make the case for Jarry, which I guess does kind of tie into our next question, which we had was who is the biggest Metro snub? And for me, it's got to be Igor Shesterkin.
Oh wow, we agree on snubs in the Metro, I guess.
Yeah, I mean
I'm
seems
surprised not to see him on there. I kind of like I've looked through the list a few times for the last few days after they kind of finalized it, and I was like looking for his name. I'm like, there's something amiss.
Yeah, goaltenders with at least 10 starts. Shesterkin leads the league in save percentage, 939.
See,
He's
so
got a 199 goals against average, 3 shutouts, 17, 4, and 2 on the season.
That's phenomenal.
It is. And I mean, you look at Tristan Jarry, his numbers are solid too, but 19, 7, and 4 on the season, 928 save percentage, 208 goals against. The goalie with the better goals against average and the better save percentage got left off here. To me, especially looking at this and seeing that probably, I mean, looking at this roster, I'm going to put that back up on the screen here. Gensel probably should be in on the first team here, just looking at Gensel's stats throughout the season as well. I mean, Gensel, a more deserving all-star to represent the Penguins than Jarry. But because of the rule that every team has to send an all-star,
we're going to get into that one.
Who are you going to bump? Oh, yes, we are going to get into that one. We have some takes there, but Gensel, 20 goals, 18 assists on the season, 38 points, 32 games. To me, those are all-star numbers that should be in regardless. And it shouldn't have taken a last man in vote to get Gensel into the all-star game. But at that point, if you're dropping Gensel from the list, you're either going to drop Kreider or you're going to drop Fox. And I mean, in fairness to those two guys, they're having great seasons too. Fox, 5 goals, 34 assists, a point a game player as a defenseman. Huge. Chris Kreider, 24 goals, 11 assists.
I can't
really take either of them off.
If just to be different from your snub answer,
okay,
how in God's name is my boy Artemi Panarin not on this list?
Well,
he is 10 goals, 28 assists for obviously 38 points on the season so far, a +3, only 14 penalty minutes. That's pretty good actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, I mean,
I think the only difference is everybody looks at the goal numbers, and when you see Panarin with 10 and Kreider with 24, how do you keep out a guy who's got 24 goals on the season?
You don't. Absolutely not. And that's going to get Jake Gensel. That's true. He's a Minnesota boy.
Yep.
And I agree with you. You don't. But I don't want to get too far ahead of our segments here. We will get into why that can easily be, compromised.
Yeah, it seems like there's a way to rectify things there a little bit that may result in fewer snubs. Let's take a look too while we're at it at the Atlantic Division. Drake Batherson, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Huberdeau, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews. Matthews is your captain. Stamkos, Steven Stamkos, Nick Suzuki, Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman, Jack Campbell, and Andrei Vasilevsky.
Stamkos being the last man in vote there.
Say again, sorry?
Stamkos being the last man in vote that just got announced
today. That's correct. Stamkos was the last man in. Another example of players who shouldn't have had to wait until the last minute to be named to the All-Star team this year. Stamkos, 18 goals, 28 assists on an absolute tear. But really, this team has a lot of interesting aspects in my mind, because you look at the goaltending tandem of Campbell and Vasilevsky. Those two, along with Shesterkin and Freddie Anderson, those are probably your top 4 guys in any order for your Vezina Trophy voting right now for top goaltender. Take your pick on the order. I don't know that there's even necessarily a front runner of that bunch. I think if it were me, my vote would probably be Shesterkin, but I mean,
I'd agree. You and I both very much agree on Shesterkin. I think we have for, since he got drafted.
Yeah. I mean, he's a very, very good goaltender. Vasilevsky is always going to be in that conversation.
Yeah.
Anderson putting up career numbers, and Campbell solid numbers as well in Toronto. And anytime you're playing well in Toronto, you're going to get media attention and coverage, and that's going to get you some votes. So there's a solid array of goaltending there. But looking at the rest of the group here, Rasmus Dahlin is on his first All-Star game appearance. Several guys on their first. Drake Batherson with Ottawa on his first. Nick Suzuki, Montreal on his first. Rasmus Dahlin on his first. And Jack Campbell on his first. So not necessarily the All-Star game experience, but you talk star power. You want to talk scoring goals, setting plays up. Plus, with two defensemen, and you get two of the best defensive forwards in the league, really. Huberdeau and Bergeron. Huberdeau kind of flies under the radar for his defensive abilities as a forward. I feel like we think of him as the scorer and Barkov is the two-way guy, but Huberdeau's got some two-way to his game as well. Joel, who is your biggest snub in the Atlantic Division?
I hate to admit it, but I can't not admit it. It's got to be Brad Marchand. Like, come on, that's easy.
Yeah,
it's so easy. I despise him, but damned if I don't respect his game. He absolutely he has 20 goals and 23 assists on the season. There is no argument there, like my last one with Artemi Panarin, where it's like, oh, you look at the goal number, not as high as the assist. That's literally as even as it can get right there. 20 and 23, 43 points on the season. I mean, I'm not arguing Patrice should not be in there. Patrice absolutely should be in there. Patrice is a beast, as we've always called him. He absolutely deserves to be in there, but I mean, Marchand should definitely be in there with him. I mean, it's both of them. Again, I'm continuing to tease a future segment here in the show, but I don't know how the hell Marchand is not in there.
Yeah, to me, Marchand really. What's your argument for keeping him out? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
There really isn't one, because if you want to go with the points conversation again, he's flying past Bergeron on points. 43 for Marchand on the year, 30 for Bergeron, more goals and more assists. Is it that Bergeron has played 4 more games? Like, is that the only which makes it even more impressive, Marchand's point total, because in 4 fewer games he has 13 more points. And Marchand's been in the All-Star game before. One of the greatest mic'd up moments of the All-Star game was Wes McCauley skating over to Marchand and saying, if I call a penalty on you tonight, the roof is going to blow off this place. I'm paraphrasing, something to that effect. He said, I'll never have to pay for a drink in this town again if I call a penalty on you tonight. And I think there was some truth to that. But you can't deny Marchand's case for being in the All-Star game this year. And I think he does deserve it over Bergeron. But looking at this roster as well, 2 defensemen, once again, which Metro has 3, Atlantic only going with 2. And we'll touch on this in a minute, but the Western Conference teams each only sending 1 defenseman. So maybe a little bit of gamesmanship in the roster construction here for the Atlantic, having a solid defensive forward in Bergeron. That's another question, I guess, is will Bergeron play as a defenseman for the 3-on-3 format?
I would think. No, you would put him at center.
Well, for taking the face-off, yes, but then do you maybe
switch him back to deep?
Like switch Larkin, put him on a line with Larkin, who has elite speed, win a face-off back to Larkin, and then Bergeron kind of floats back to the line as Larkin carries in?
I mean, I'm excited. I love the 3-on-3 All-Star thing. I know it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't win you anything. Well, wins the player stuff, but it's so much fun.
It really is. Let's move into the Western Conference here. Keep the show moving right along. Joel, you want to go ahead and read these off for us?
Yeah, so we got the Central All-Stars. From Winnipeg, we got Kyle Connor. From the Blackhawks, we got Alex DeBrincat. From Colorado, Nazem Kadri. He was the last man in vote as well. From Minnesota, Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov. That's
wearing the jersey tonight, baby.
How was that?
Dollar Bill Kirill. You knew it was coming.
If he didn't get in, I would have questions.
Oh, absolutely. So many questions.
From Arizona, Clayton Keller. From the Blues, Jordan Kyrou. Again, definitely for sure. From Colorado, and also the captain, Nathan McKinnon. From Dallas, Joe Pavelski. From Colorado as well, the only defenseman from the Central, Cale Makar, which, of course, absolutely. Goalie from Nashville, UC Saros, or Juicy as I call him. And from Minnesota, Cam Talbot.
That one was
That's
a
interesting.
big surprise to me.
You guys got a good record. I can understand. He's got the wins under his belt. I think that definitely. I'm not going to say we're backing up here. Obviously, Freddie Anderson is leading in a bunch of the other categories, as we said, but I think his win total is kind of what nudged him through the wall there.
Which of these two goalies? I'm gonna present this to you this way. Which of these two goalies do you think is more deserving of the All-Star game?
I'm sorry, but Saros.
Goalie A. Oh, Saros, without question.
Oh,
This
I
is
thought you were
not
going to ask me
Saros.
Talbot.
This is
Oh,
not
okay.
Saros. I'm
Okay.
going to ask you a different question
Okay.
here. Goalie A is 15, 8, and 1, has a 909 save percentage and a 3.0 even goals against average.
Wow.
Goaltender number 2, 13, 11, and 3, 916 save percentage, 269 goals against average. Which of those two goalies do you think is more deserving of the All-Star game? I'll even throw a third goaltender into the mix, a goaltender who's 14, 10, and 4, a 916 save percentage, and a 273 goals against average.
I think I know one of them. They're from the Central Division, I'm assuming.
Yep, all three are from the Central. So
I think I know one of them. I want to say I know which one. I would probably go with goalie B. I know his record isn't that good, but a goalie's record is not all on him. So I will never put that against him, especially for an All-Star vote. Goals against, I like that, and then save percentage also pretty decent. So I would go goalie.
Do you know who the other two goalies were?
I want to guess goalie B is Marc-Andre Fleury.
That is correct.
C? I was right.
Fleury was B.
Fleury was goalie B. Okay, so goalie A, I'm gonna guess is Darcy Kemper.
No, it's Cam Talbot.
Oh,
goalie
I thought
A
we weren't
Cam
including
Talbot.
either of them. What the hell?
Nope, surprise. And goalie
wow,
number
all right,
3.
So you cheated. Okay.
And goalie number 3, goalie C, who was that?
Give me two guesses. I'm going to say Darcy Kemper again, but if it's not him,
it was not Darcy Kemper.
It's not Darcy Kemper. Okay, then that'd be Jordan Binnington.
Connor Hellebuck.
Ah, right. Okay.
Which leads to another interesting question here. Do you think name recognition got Talbot in over other goalies? I don't think so. I think it's strictly the record here, because if we're talking about name recognition,
Jordan
Fleury and Hellebuck both have
Fleury
Talbot.
Too, and Hellebuck.
Yeah,
all three of them
as well. So I think it's not the name recognition. It's the voters took a look at the ballot and went, okay, which two goalies have the most wins? Saros, Talbot. Okay, fire away, put them in.
Right.
Which leads us to another one. Biggest central snub. We almost had one in Nazem Kadri. 14 goals, 35 assists. Kadri is on pace for like 115 points this season. Mm-hmm. And I feel like not enough people are talking about how good he has been this season. And he nearly got, in a career year for him, he nearly got snubbed out of the All-Star game. Thankfully, he didn't. But Joel, who is your vote for the biggest snub in the Central Division?
Biggest, I will announce at the end of this, because I have a couple snubs, but the biggest, I think you'll agree with me on.
Okay.
There's two snubs that probably people will yell at me for being a homer, but Marc-Andre Fleury should absolutely be in there. Okay, he had a bad 10 games to start the season, and then we got the garbage that was Jeremy Colleton out of there, and he has now looked like the Marc-Andre Fleury we all know and love, and the one that we were all pumped to be getting for literally pennies. Fleury should absolutely be in there, and I mean, to David's question's point, like, I never agree with name recognition getting you into the All-Star game, but if there's only maybe like five or so names that I think, like, if you're going to put them in just for namesake, go ahead. Fleury would be one of them. But he's backing it up with the numbers now too. For the last 20 plus games of the season, he's been outstanding. Anyone outside of Chicago that's watched him, he's been ridiculous. I'm so lucky that we get to watch him in Chicago. Anyway, Fleury definitely. I would argue, and he was a last man in vote. Seth Jones could have an argument. He has had a damn good season. He, for a while there, was leading. I think for a good couple weeks to a month, he was leading all defensemen in points. It went away pretty quickly, but he was leading there. He was leading in assists for a little while. He's still got 3 goals and 22 assists for 25 points, but I can understand why he got thrown into the last man in, but didn't get voted over players like Kadri for sure. I'm cool with that. My biggest snub from the Central Division, and I think you're going to agree with me, is absolutely Roman Josi.
Yeah, I 100% had him picked off as my biggest snub.
He's as a defenseman, he has 13 goals already and 27 assists for 40 points plus 6. It doesn't have any. I'm not seeing how many block shots he has right now, but he eats shots.
He does.
So okay, again, I'm teasing it again. Every single division, I'm going to tease this segment. How the hell is Roman Josi not in? And that's going to suck for the Central Division, only having. I mean, Cale Makar is amazing, but you need more defensemen than just Cale Makar, and Roman Josi would absolutely brick wall the defense for the Central Division.
I'm trying to find the shot block numbers. 57 blocks on the year leads the team.
Yeah.
Which is just over 1.5 per game.
As a defenseman, he's taken 142 shots too. Come on.
3.6 blocks per 60.
Yeah.
Those are solid numbers. And by the way, while we're at it, we want to go back to points here among defensemen. Is Josi is tied for the lead in points among defensemen, which, as we said earlier, isn't necessarily the only criteria. I mean, if that were the case, we could throw Aaron Ekblad in as a snub for the excuse me, for the Atlantic. And Seth Jones, 25 points, tied for 15th. Josi, I think for me, that's the bigger snub.
Jones. Oh, absolutely. No. I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
Roman Josi is absolutely my biggest snub. No. I was saying, based on just playing like an all-star, like Seth Jones, I threw him into the mix. But oh God, no, I am not that much of a homer to sit here and say that. No, Roman Josi is absolutely the biggest Central snub for me.
Okay, good. Glad we're on the same page there.
There's no competition there. He absolutely should be playing in the All-Star break.
And our final division, the Pacific. All-Stars.
This one will be fun. So, the Pacific All-Stars, to no one's surprise, from Edmonton, Leon Draisaitl. From Seattle, Jordan Eberle. From Calgary, Johnny Gaudreau. From the LA Kings, Adrian Kemp. Is it Kemp or Kempe?
Kempe.
It's Kempe. Okay, that's what I thought. The voted captain, to literally no one's surprise, from Edmonton, Connor McDavid. From San Jose, Timo Meier just had a historic 5-goal game last night.
Impressive.
That was nuts. That was so cool.
I'm gonna interrupt for a moment.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have a comment I was going to put up, but you can finish that thought.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say Timo Meier is on my fantasy team. Thank God.
I have him in a different league, not the one
Same.
that you and I are in, but yes,
we're in 2.
Yeah, that's right. We are in 2. Comment from Joey here. Flower has been the reason the Hawks are even close to 500. He has been unreal. Josi, bigger snub with that said.
Totally agree.
I think both of those guys, it's fair to call snubs.
Joey,
especially looking beyond the record with Flower versus Talbot.
Oh, yeah. Joey being an official friend of the show, I agree with that take 110%. It's just like HP, just like David. They're official friends of the show. We'll get more friends of the show. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell your coworkers. I don't know. Listen to Snipe, Celly. Anyway, from Vegas, Mark Stone. No surprise there. From Anaheim, Troy Terry. I have thoughts on that. It's interesting. I agree, but anyway. Also from Vegas, Alex Pietrangelo, the only defenseman from the Pacific. And then goalies from Anaheim, John Gibson, and from Vancouver, Thatcher Demko.
So once again, I think we have a scenario where a goaltender who may not necessarily have been as deserving is the one who's representing his team when there's another player in there. And don't get me wrong, John Gibson is a heck of a goaltender. But I think if we're talking about the biggest Pacific snub, to me, the one that kind of jumps off the table is Jacob Markstrom.
Easily.
12-8-5 on the season, league leading 5 shutouts, 924 save percentage, 223 goals against average. To me, looking at this roster, I mean, you put Troy Terry in to begin with, which Terry is a very deserving all-star this year.
Mhm.
If Troy
Absolutely.
Terry is in to begin with and we leave someone else up to that last man in vote, probably another forward. Maybe you drop Mark Stone off. Maybe you drop Pietrangelo off. Pietrangelo was honestly kind of brutal to start the year.
Yeah.
There's ways that could have been handled differently. I'm looking at this roster going, how is Markstrom not on this team?
No, I totally agree. I think I would put him as my biggest snub as well. I know it's more fun to argue, but I can't argue that one. I wouldn't say he's the biggest over Markstrom, not even close. But I do have another snub for an interesting reason.
Oh, go ahead, hit us with it.
How is Trevor Zegras not going in?
He's going to at some point. He's going to.
He will be there. He's only 20 years old, but
difference is Terry's putting up the goals. Same as what we talked about earlier with Kreider and Panarin. Troy Terry 22 goals, Zegras with 10. Zegras has 5 more assists, so 7-point difference on the year, but 22 goals versus 10. Troy Terry was so stinking good to start the year.
Again, here's my tease for this division for the segment after this. I don't disagree. Troy Terry absolutely should be in there. Trevor Zegras, for the sole purpose, again, 29 points, pretty damn good going into the All-Star break. Pretty damn good for a 20-year-old kid, right? For the fun factor alone, getting someone like Trevor Zegras in a 3-on-3 All-Star tournament, like you want to sell the game? Do that.
That is how you do it. Without a doubt. I mean, looking at his lacrosse style assist play with Sonny Milano earlier this year.
He tried it again like a week or so ago.
Watching him chirp Jack Hughes on whatever video he's working on with ESPN, they threw a little teaser out there, and he said that he's going to make sure that his video is better than Jack Hughes' video. Zegras' personality, he's a great character for the league. Like he's the star that they really should be trying to market even more, if we're being honest. Like he's a good hockey player and just a nutty character. Like
they'll get him. They'll get him in there. He'll get his time. You're right. I agree. He will be in the All-Star, but he's not my biggest snub. I agree with you on Markstrom, but he's definitely a smaller snub. I would definitely love to see him in the All-Star break, especially this year.
I kind of wish
confidence.
I kind of wish the NHL had like a Rising Stars game, like what they have in the NBA, where you have like the top, maybe you put together all-star rosters, but it's players under the age of 23. So it can be guys who are currently playing juniors, or it could just be an East versus West. And you don't necessarily need the 2 divisions. You just go overall. But then you get some of those younger stars. You get your guys like Matt Boldy in Minnesota. You get Trevor Zegras. Troy Terry, honestly, probably, I think he's eligible to play in both if we set the 23 rule. How old is Troy Terry?
1 second. I can
24. So he's just barely too old, but he would have been a good candidate last season when they didn't have an All-Star game. So
we're doing a Rising Stars.
I mean, if John Scott could make it, well, that was fan vote. That was a different story, but
that was fan vote. But that's also that takes away from one of my favorite All-Star moments ever of any All-Star
game. The greatest All-Star moment ever. He
not
scores, does the drag Celly, like that was the greatest thing.
Plus,
and then
not just him
guys
winning,
try to lift him up when he was named All-Star MVP.
That and my favorite moment, not him winning the MVP, but when him and Patrick Kane jokingly dropped the gloves on each other.
Yes.
That was amazing.
They talked about it in pregame because they were doing they had all the players on the line as they were doing introductions, and standing right next to Patrick Kane was John Scott. And he's looking over at him and just kind of chirping him in the line. You could tell something was coming. The fans demand more John Scott. Yes, they do.
We all demand more John Scott. I have his autograph. I was so excited to have his autograph after that All-Star game.
Oh yeah, that autograph value went through the roof after the All-Star game. That was
Stars. if we're doing a Rising Stars game, I'm throwing Brandon Hagel in the mix. Anyway, I had to get that in. Joey will back me up on that one. Anyway, go ahead.
So that brings us to our debate of the night, and we put this one up on Twitter.
We did. I got it up right here.
Poll for the page. Joel, would you like to read off the results that we had on our poll? Should every team send an all-star to the all-star game?
Yep. To your point, we did put up a poll. It was back on the 14th? What was that, Wednesday?
Yes, but we let it run through until about 10 minutes before showtime tonight.
Yep. So we based it off of Nathan McKinnon's quote, and I quote, "It's silly. I don't think every team should send a guy. It's an all-star game, not a participation game." So we asked, what did you guys think? We had 18 total votes, pretty decent, and pretty staggeringly, 78% agreed no, not all teams should get a player going into the all-star game. And then 22, do the math, 22% said yes, 1 rep per team. Where did you vote?
Since I know where you stand on this,
but the people don't know where I stand on this.
The people may not know.
They might by now, because I teased it in 4 different divisions.
You did. I understand the argument for each team sending an all-star to the all-star game. Major League Baseball does this as well, where they send at least 1 player from every team. And the goal of doing that is to try to push hockey in those markets.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
You're wanting every team to have an all-star so that every team has someone that they can market. Which this season, you look at a couple of these clubs, I mean, Arizona probably has no business sending anybody to the all-star game. Montreal probably doesn't have anybody. The Seattle Kraken probably don't have anybody that really you look at and say should be in the all-star game. Hawks, despite their bad start, they have players who are putting up all-star game worthy numbers and are playing like all-stars. So I can understand the argument there for a bad team getting a player in. But to me, I don't think we're at a point where every team needs to send an all-star. And I understand that you don't want to have you don't want to leave teams out. I get it. You want to have every team have that chance to push somebody. But all-star games are not actual NHL games. They are a celebration of the best talent that the league has. They are putting your show on display for everybody. It is meant to draw in the casual fans, the people who have never watched a game of hockey before. And if you're looking at this game and you're wondering, why, for example, is Nick Suzuki playing but Brad Marchand isn't? Why is it that one of the top point scorers in the league in Nazem Kadri needed to get in on a last fan vote and almost missed the game entirely despite being that good, when you're looking around at the rest of these rosters and seeing Clayton Keller in on that list, seeing a guy like Jordan Eberle. I got to look up what Eberle's numbers exactly.
I got him up right here.
Oh, go for it.
Right here. So he's 12-12, 12 goals, 12 assists.
Yeah, so he doesn't lead his team in either category, but he does lead his team in
minus 17. It's not just him, but yeah, he does lead his team in points. Yeah, he's a minus 17.
But I don't want to put too much stock into plus minus. I think it's not a super useful stat.
It's overrated when you're a high plus.
When it's one extreme or the other, it's a huge, a very telling stat. Joey with an interesting one here. Let's make it interesting. Every team should send someone to All-Star Weekend, skills or actual game. Each market gets to represent some in the game and some in the skills. That could be.
So to a degree, they do kind of do that, but also to that effect. Well, because I'm pretty sure not every single player, at least the last couple All-Star games, played in the actual tournament. Oh no, before they did the tournament style. Sorry, it was back before they did tournament style when they were just doing the regular game. There were some.
There were players who only got maybe 5 minutes a night.
Yeah,
out of the lineup.
I agree with that. I definitely think there should be. I don't think you should have 2 completely different drafts for the skills competition stuff and then the game itself.
But I mean, similar to the last man in vote that they have, do a skills competition only vote, and I think they only need they only ever have a grand total of like 4 or 5 players from each division compete in the skills competition, I think.
It depends on what the event is. I think you get 2 from each division for fastest skater. I think you get 2 from each division on the accuracy challenge.
The shootout mode, that's everybody.
The
they
shootout
roll
mode.
for everybody.
Shootout mode. Everybody on the team goes.
Yeah.
And then hardest shot. I think you get 1. I think you get maybe you get 2 per team.
2. I think it's 2.
I think so, and everybody gets 2 attempts. So yeah, that makes sense.
I would agree.
That's one of my favorite ones to watch is hardest shot.
To your point too about the marketing, because all right, now it's not a secret. I am very much all for the no. Do not send 1 player from each team. Because I absolutely agree with Nathan McKinnon 150%. This is not a participation thing. Like if you're playing like an all-star, you get into the all-star game. Like I get it. If your team sucks, that's not necessarily on you. Case in point, Clayton Keller in Arizona. Arizona's terrible, but Clayton Keller's got all-star numbers up right now, 14 goals, 15 assists. I would say halfway through the season, that's all-star numbers. That's fine.
I would say for Arizona having 14 goals and 15 assists, that's Hall of Fame numbers the way that they're playing this year.
Pretty sure. Actually, I think his point total outscores how many goals they've scored on the season. No, I'm joking.
Okay, let's look at it this way. What number is higher in the standings, the team point total or Keller's point total?
Exactly.
What did you say his point total was?
He's got 29 points on the season.
Yeah, Arizona has 22 in the standings, so yeah.
Yeah. So that to me, fair. Send him. Right? That's fine. Another thing too, like I totally agree. Montreal should not be sending anyone. I love Nick Suzuki. I do. I love Nick Suzuki, but he's got 19 points on the season, 7 goals, 12 assists. Sorry. If you're not eclipsing 20 points by this point in the season, I don't think you're getting to the All-Star game. That's my personal opinion. Hell, I think it should be a little more than that too, but
and you can't even really make a case for anybody else on that roster because he is tied for the team lead in points. Maybe you go Jonathan Drouin, but
he was also out for a little while too, so
he was. So Suzuki has 7 more games. Drouin on the points per game numbers would be higher.
I would also argue too, even I told you Jordan Eberle's numbers. Like even his are arguably like, how are you sending anyone from the Kraken? Like I love Jordan Eberle too, but again, 12 goals, 12 assists. That's good. I mean, he's their top scorer, but I still just,
it's such a shame.
And it's funny too. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, to your marketing point that you made earlier too, like that part I understand and I'm all for it. Market get a player from each team, make sure that they can market it from that city. I mean, I'm pretty sure the state of Arizona would love to just kick the Coyotes out of the state at this point with that whole thing, but we'll talk about that in another episode. You almost wonder. But anyway, the All-Star games, I pulled up the All-Star games ratings from last year, and it's at an all-time low. Last year
from 2019.
Or sorry, from 2020. 2020, they didn't do.
Yes, they didn't do one in 2021.
Yeah, so in 2020, when they still decided to do one despite COVID,
that was before COVID, really. I mean, yes, COVID was sort of a thing at that point, but the real serious COVID outbreak was March. All-Star game was before that.
Right. So either way, 2020, it was at a 3-year low. It only got a 1.1 rating, which equaled 1.78 million viewers on NBC. That's down 12% in viewership from the previous year, 2019, and down 15% from 2018, and 2017 it was down 21%. So the marketing aspect I get, but it's also like not that, not earth-shattering amount of people are watching the All-Star Weekend anyway. And I love the All-Star Weekend. I will sit here and die on the hill that the skills competition is so much fun to watch if you like the game of hockey. And obviously now that they've gone to, and I think that surprises me because what was the first year they started the 3-on-3 tournament? Was that
maybe
18?
I think it was before that.
Was it 17 then?
I'll look it up. You keep going on with your point here.
All right, look that up. But either way, the 3-on-3 tournament is one of the most fun things to watch. I know not everyone's going to go hard, but it's so fun to watch. I love watching it, but again, there's not that many people watching it from that aspect. But no, I'm with the fact that like you should not be sending one player from each. The NBA doesn't do that, and I agree for once how the NBA does something. I absolutely agree with that. Or does the MLB send one per team?
They do send one per team
They
in
do,
the MLB.
yeah.
Yep.
And then the NFL doesn't
NFL
send
doesn't.
one from a Pro Bowl. Yeah, and so I agree with the NFL. Whoa. I agree with the NFL. Like you don't if you're not up to snuff and you didn't play to that standard to be an all-star for that, you shouldn't be going. And I also think too the NHL does a very, very good job. We talked about it a little bit about not sending someone via name recognition. There are 2 players in the top of my mind right now that are not going to the All-Star break this week or this coming break. And I want to see if you can guess both of them. And it's the first time I got to check on one of them, but it is the first time since 2008 one of them has not been there.
Well, that one would be Sidney Crosby.
False.
Well, Crosby's not there, but and it's not the first time that he's missed because he had a concussion. But he is another one that.
So you're right. That's the one name. That's one of the names I was thinking.
That you were thinking of because you were thinking Crosby or Ovechkin. Maybe was that what you were thinking of?
Ovechkin's in, but
right, no. So
there's 2 names that are not going to the All-Star game. One of them was Sidney Crosby, but the one about McKinnon? The stat. No, I said this is the first year. This is the first All-Star weekend that this player will not be there since 2008.
Since 2008. Oh wow. Do you have a position, forward, defenseman?
Right wing.
Right wing. Oh, Kane.
Yep. Patrick Kane's not going.
Yeah.
It's the first time since 2008 Patrick Kane is not going to the All-Star break. And he's got the numbers to go. He's got 35 points on the season.
Right. But I mean, in fairness, are you going to take DeBrincat out to put Kane in?
No, but that's kind of where but that's kind of where it comes with the sending one team each. Well, I would much rather send Kane than Jordan Eberle.
True. If we're looking at, again, with the Central Division format, and let's say we do take Clayton Keller out of the equation, does Kane get in over, say, Nathan McKinnon, who is also not going from the Central Division?
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes,
Nathan McKinnon is not on the roster.
Nathan McKinnon is the captain, my friend.
Did I miss that when I was typing? Oh, shoot. Yes, I did. No wonder.
I said it. I said he was the captain. Were you not listening to me?
Our graphic. Well, no, I was looking at our graphic, and I didn't have his name typed in, so I did not say his name. I apologize.
Yeah, Nathan McKinnon is the Central Division captain.
Okay. I was going to say, I was wondering. I was like, that's kind of weird. Why?
What you think our biggest snub from the Central would have been Nathan McKinnon?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
It's okay.
There's that. I don't know. I must have just missed it while typing it in and
scrambling to make
sure we got all the names in and got the show in on time. Which
that's fair. That's fine. Everyone listening heard me say his name. It doesn't matter about
that's the important
thing. But anyway, yeah. So no, I would absolutely take someone like Jordan Eberle out of there. Take someone like Clayton Keller has put up decent all-star numbers, but if we're going off points and just play and yes, a little bit of name alone, get Patrick Kane in there instead. Get Roman Josi in there instead of one of the 2 players I just mentioned, right? Like that's kind of where I teased it in every single division segment we were talking about. There are plenty of snubs right now where it's like the only reason they got snubbed is because there wasn't any room because they have to get one player at least from each team, and that bugs me.
I hate that. Let's move on to our next segment here. We like to do the Wednesday night picks. Update on the standings. Joel is 14-10 on the season. I am 17-10.
Better than that.
Courtesy of the extra week. Thanks, Joel. I appreciate the boost there.
Look, Luke Morse, I'm so appreciative of you filling in, but I should have been texted that day to give my picks while I'm not there.
You could have texted in.
You could have texted
you weren't
me and asked
be there.
for him.
You could have texted.
I was on a trip.
I was producing the show.
I was literally on the road and an airplane.
Still, you can text at an airport.
I didn't know the picks.
You got time to wait for a flight.
I don't get told the picks until
You're getting pissy
for
again.
the record. I'm getting pissy. That's the theme of our bit at the beginning. I have been doing these picks blind for 11 straight weeks up until today.
Well, and speaking of these picks, we want to mention as well a group called Sharp Rank. They have an app that you can download as well for both Android or iPhone, whatever you're using. And this Sharp Rank app, we just got in touch with these guys last week.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they do is they keep track of making these betting picks, whether it's against your friends, whether it's against experts who do this for a living. And you can compare your picks. You can use them to make smarter betting picks. And Joel and I both have profiles on there now, which are going to be updated with our picks from the show, which is really cool. So thank you to Sharp Rank for helping us out with that.
Looking forward to working with that for a little while.
Yeah, so we're having some fun with Sharp Rank here, and wanted to be sure to mention that.
You can get it
Salty
on the App
Joel
Store.
is salty.
Salty Joel is salty, yes. I'm not salty about Sharp Rank, though. You can get it on the App Store and the Google Play Store as well. What is this? Cane to the accuracy. This idea works. Oh, I mean, come on. The fact that we're not going to have Patrick Kane in a shootout thing for the All-Star game this year, it hurts me. Anyway, continue.
So looking ahead to tomorrow night's picks, the Arizona Coyotes, who I took last week against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they are back at it. They got me that +1 last week.
So
beating Toronto. Who saw that one coming? This guy. We called it on the show.
Toronto sucks. I hate them.
That was such a Vejmelka is a guy who maybe could get in that All-Star game as well. If you have to send one from Arizona, I would at least listen to the argument. His record is bad, but that guy has multiple 45, 50 save efforts this season. Decent goaltender, and you put a decent team in front of him. I mean, those numbers are going to improve, but pretty decent on his own, at least for being thrown to the Wolves and, or rather thrown to the Yotes. If you want to look at it that way.
Stop.
I'll shut up and get on to picks. Arizona Coyotes +1.5 goals at -140. At the New Jersey Devils, -1.5 goals at +120. Joel, that's the early game tomorrow night. Who you got between the Coyotes and the Devils?
So we're playing the puck line here, right? And I love how from an actual just team's perspective, Arizona is one of the teams now where it's that trap game. It was the trap game for Toronto, right? And Toronto fell into the trap game mentality and they lost. This is a trap game for me. I don't know why it is, because I just think it's a trap game, especially since we're playing the puck line. Money line, this is an easy one. This is an easy choice, but I've not done this yet in these picks, and I know I'm going to regret this. I hate it. I'm definitely going to regret this, but I'm not picking the Coyotes to win, but I am going to pick them to at least cover. I think they're feeling themselves a little bit. The Devils aren't a good team either. They have better talent, obviously, but they're not that good.
Well, Devils 4-6-0 in their last 10. Coyotes 4-4-2 in their last 10.
Literally they're both 4-6. However you put it, they're both 4-6 in their last 10.
But it's those 2 extra points for Arizona that make a little bit of a difference here. New Jersey with Dougie Hamilton out, I mean, that has really, really put a damper on things defensively. Where they were already kind of green to begin with. Jonathan Bernier done for the season. That really hurts your goaltending depth. Mackenzie Blackwood, he's shown flashes of being good, but really inconsistent, and that scares me. But then again, the whole Coyotes roster scares me as well. I mean, that's not. They're a team that is actively trying to lose right now. And they're kind of just going through the motions a bit. But for some of these guys, especially their younger players like Keller, like Vejmelka, those guys are really trying to impress and keep fighting for a roster spot next year. We've talked
And
about this
trade value too. Half of them are trying to maybe see if they can get traded out of there.
We've talked about this on the show before, but Arizona has 3 forwards under contract for next year, and one of those 3 is Andrew Ladd, who at 36 might be retiring. Yes, that Andrew Ladd.
I miss Andrew Ladd.
Yeah, but you don't miss that contract though.
We never gave him
you
a
don't miss
contract.
$5.5 million non modified no trade clause, a partial no trade.
I don't have to miss that. We never did that. We never paid him that. He got traded away too fast for us to give him that contract.
Yeah, so the other 2 forwards under contract for next year, Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. Everybody else on that list is a free agent playing for a spot, with only 2 restricted free agents in that bunch, Lawson Krause and Christian Fischer.
I want to tease this because we're not going to talk about it now. I just want whoever's listening or watching, I want them to be like, ooh, that's titillating. I want to listen to an episode in the offseason now. Is Arizona going to be a franchise in the next 3 years? Anyway.
That's a definite conversation. Defensively, 2 guys and then one other who's on his entry-level deal, Jacob Chikrin and Shane Gostisbehere under contract, but you have a entry-level left D in Giannis Moser.
Shane Gostisbehere, man, talk about falling off.
That's a big change. And then
He
goalies.
went from a Norris favorite to who?
Goalies, you have all 3 of the goalies are RFA or UFA status. Wedgwood, Vejmelka, and Carter Hutton. Hutton on injured reserve right now, but at 36, he probably doesn't have too much more left in the tank either.
As quickly
and
became
then I guess they do have one more D under contract, and that's Connor Timmins, who is on injured reserve as well. So they have some guys there, but
we need ooh, that's titillating. I'd like to listen to that. I quote it.
There we go.
Thank you, David. I also
he has another question here. Can emergency goalies make the All-Star game? David Ayers,
Scott Foster.
Those 2 could both make it.
I would think that actually that's what they should do. They should have emergency backup goalies at the All-Star game, and it should just always be those 2. That's it.
I'm
just
for
those 2. Even if they're like 80 years old, put them in.
You know who would have been, up until about a week ago, the best emergency backup goaltender to play in an All-Star game?
Ilya Bryzgalov?
Tuukka Rask.
Ooh.
Up until last week. Now that he's signed, he's no longer.
Yeah, he's no longer a backup anymore.
E-Bud, but
yeah.
Let's get back to picks here.
I hope
we
need people in Arizona to be listening. This quickly became the Arizona Coyotes show.
Yeah, pretty much. You took the Coyotes.
No, well, so this is. I'm just taking them to cover.
Right.
I don't want people to think I'm dumb enough.
For this pick segment, strictly on the puck line. That's what we put up on the screen.
I'm
going to taking Arizona on the puck line.
I'm going to regret it. I can already tell you I'm at least 2-1 based on that, because I know they're going to. I'm like, I haven't done this before. I haven't picked a team that's going to lose but to cover yet. This is my first one, and I know they're going to lose by like 5 goals.
Here's the thing. Luke Morse picked Arizona, and that's his win on the season. I picked Arizona.
Luke.
I picked Arizona last week, and they won. I think karmically we're out of luck on this one. I mean, at some point, picking Arizona, that's got to come to an end. I'm going to take New Jersey. I'm going to take them to be different. I do not feel great about it. I really like. How is this the Wednesday 7:00 game?
Well,
I mean,
look at yesterday. Look at the amazing theater we got to watch of Arizona versus Montreal.
Well, I mean, there is that too.
I guarantee you there were millions of people tuning into that gladiator duel.
But I mean, here's the thing. That wasn't even, that was how they set the schedule. There aren't postponed games affecting the schedule for tomorrow.
I get
it. And then listen to some of our matchups here on Thursday and tell me you wouldn't want to watch these. Washington at Boston, Florida at Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, better matchups. I mean, Winnipeg, Nashville is probably pretty good there too. But
Vegas, Montreal.
Vegas, Montreal. Yeah, that kind of deflates the argument a little bit. Seattle, San Jose. that kind of takes the wind out of the sails a little bit. But
Seattle, San Jose, Timo Meyer's going to put up another 5-goal game.
Maybe so. Depends. Is Grubauer in net? If so, mark it 8, dude.
We couldn't beat him.
I'm going New Jersey here. Joel's taking Arizona. Next game. This is without a doubt, in my mind, the game of the night.
Game. Is this the TNT primetime game?
Yes, this is the TNT game.
Because the other game would be the night game. I think.
The Arizona New Jersey is the ESPN Plus, and then TNT has back-to-back with this game
one
and
then
the
our next.
one.
Okay. So, but
this is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto Maple Leafs at New York Rangers. This is the 7:00 game you should be watching.
Yeah, this is a good game. This is a damn good game to watch too. Like first place in the Metro, New York Rangers, and Toronto. Obviously, they're third in the Atlantic, but they're fighting.
That is a stacked Atlantic division.
I know. Heavy. Last 10 for both teams too. New York is 6-3-1 in their last 10, and they're rocking a 2-game win streak right now. Toronto is they're coming off a win. They just got a 1 game, but they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. So like that's pretty even. Like that's not as even as the last 2, but in their last 10. But it's pretty even. That's tough, man. That's a really tough one. And this time Dan didn't cheat, and I've known our 3 picks today, so I've had some time to think about it.
Only 3 games tomorrow. You could look this up.
Dan, why are you so pissy?
I'm not being pissy.
Why are you so pissy? It's a bad answer. Anyway, I want to see who you take first. I'm not going to be different regardless. I have my pick, but I want to see who you're going to pick.
I think this is way too close to put either team on.
Should we ask Siri to flip a coin?
Almost. I mean, these 2 teams are very, very evenly matched. Both solid goaltending. Good offenses. I think for me, just for the sake of the betting value here, getting an underdog at plus 140 who is at home is really appetizing to me. For that reason, I'm going to take the Rangers. I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. It could be an overtime or shootout type of game. I think we're probably looking at a 3-2 or 2-1 type of game. To me, the goaltending this year for both clubs has been fantastic. I think that's going to continue. I think it's going to be give me the Rangers at home, just on virtue of being the home dog at plus 140. I mean, that's good value for a club that is really, I think, exceeding expectations this year, relative to where they were at just over the last couple of years. And a team that they've played 4 more games than Carolina, but still ahead in the standings. And you got to be ahead. They're 2 points up with 4 more games played. They are 3 points ahead of Pittsburgh with only 1 more game played. 3 ahead of Washington with the same number of games played. It's a first place club. So if you're telling me I can get a first place club as an underdog at home, for me, that's where the value is. I'm taking the Rangers.
You want to talk about as even as it gets too? You're talking. I agree with you. The Rangers at home is hard to bet against, and especially like a home dog too. Like that's good money, but that's smart money. But the Rangers at home this season are 10-3-2.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is where it gets pretty even. That's why this is going to be a good game to watch. The Toronto Maple Leafs on the road this season are 10-5-2. Yeah. So it's right there. It's literally a toss-up. I'm not going to be different. That's who I was going to pick. I'm going to take the Rangers too. I think they're just feeling it. I know obviously the Maple Leafs it's a coin toss, but I agree with you, especially for the money value too. I'm going to take the Rangers too. So we agree on this one. We're not different here.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Toronto won that game.
No.
I would not one bit. I just think for the sake of the betting value, there's a lot of value on the Rangers as a home underdog for first place team. That's just my take.
I want to see. No, I agree. Absolutely. That's why I'll take him too. I want to see just this bloodbath of like a 5-4 Rangers win or like a 6-5 Rangers win. I don't know if that'll happen because both goalies are playing out of their minds. But
Joey taking notes on the show tonight, saying people forget earlier Joel said he hates Toronto.
I hate them because they lost to the Coyotes, which meant I lost for one of my picks. That's why I hate them.
You hammered Maple Leafs -1.5 last week.
I did. I think I took out a hammer. And
I understand you picking against them this week as a punishment. That's fair.
Actually, no, don't prove me wrong. Please don't prove me wrong.
And then the last game of the night, the Colorado Avalanche -1.5 goals at +100. At the Anaheim Ducks +1.5 goals at -120. Again, really, really close odds here. The book's kind of liking the Ducks. The money line gets dramatically different. In fact, right now, Avalanche -245 on the money line, but only +100 on the puck line at -1.5. That tells me that there's some steam thinking that Anaheim's going to keep this game close. Joel, how do you break this one down?
I could see Anaheim making it close, but I don't know, man. Anaheim's been real cold lately. They're on a 3-game losing skid right now. They are a whopping 2-6-2 in their last 10. That's bad. They're coldest of the cold. They got shut out by us. They just lost to who'd they just lose to? Who did they just play recently that they lost to? I gotta find it really quick. Besides us, obviously we're not that good, but I forgot who they lost to other than us. But anyway, they are the coldest of the cold right now. Meanwhile,
they lost to the Wild 7-3. If that's what you were getting at.
No, that's not it. Then that's an easy loss.
Well,
they're actually good.
Their last 3 games: 4-1 loss to the Penguins, 7-3 loss to the Wild, and 3-0 to Chicago. Their other loss in there was the Rangers.
Oh,
but then before that, Avalanche, Golden Knights, Canucks, and we're back into way too far back.
Yeah, so they played a lot of really good teams there, and with us, they played a mediocre team with a all-star goalie, or all-star snubbed goalie. Sorry. Anyway, but even on the contrary to that, regardless of how their schedule is looked and how cold they are, like Colorado is the hottest of the hot right now too. They're rocking an 8-1-1 over their last 10. They're on a 3-game winning streak too. I'm sticking with what's brought me to the dance to even have a winning record right now, and that's pretty much never betting against the Avalanche. I'm pretty sure I've not bet against them yet in 12 episodes of this, and I'm not going to start now. I'll absolutely take the Avalanche on this one at -1.5.
For me, this is going to very, very largely come down to how many players that Anaheim gets out of COVID protocol ahead of this game. Because here are the players that are listed as out of the lineup, but possible to return tomorrow.
Okay.
Adam Henrique, Josh Mahura, John Gibson, Simon Benoit, Troy Terry, Sonny Milano, Cam Fowler, Anthony Stolarz. With Josh Manson expected to be out 2 more days and come back on Friday. That's a lot of bodies to have out of the lineup. That's your top 2 goalies with Gibson and Stolarz. I know they're going to get quite a few of those guys back. But again, I don't see how they're able to keep up with a lineup that has just had COVID and had other injuries that have hampered them so much. And Colorado is just a wagon right now. I mean, they are playing like the team that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is Darcy Kemper may not be in the lineup for Colorado tomorrow. He took a head injury in the game against the Wild, a play that some Wild fans tried to say that was a sell job from Kemper. I will not make that argument. Greenway ran him pretty good. And the fact that Kemper is still on the injured list tells me that no, he wasn't trying to sell that one or anything. So Pavel Francouz would be taking over in net at that point.
It's Francois.
No, it's Francouz. That's what they were saying the whole broadcast the other day. Yep.
That's weird.
Yep. That's what they said. So we can look it up after the show. But
I'm so much more French than you. Come on. That's not even remotely true.
How do we even compare? We're not going to get into that. That's a topic for not even for an off-season show. We don't need that conversation.
Why not?
I'm taking the Avs as well. I hate that we're picking 2 out of 3 the same. I really like the Ducks. They have, from last year where they were just a stink burger of a team, to a team that is fun, a team that has guys like Troy Terry playing well, that has Trevor Zegras playing well, Milano, Gibson. You go up and down the roster. It's a fun team. I don't see how they hold serve with Colorado, especially when Colorado's got a lot of guys fresh. Anaheim has a lot of guys who are just getting back from COVID protocols. My money there is on Colorado. So we both took Colorado. We both took the Rangers, and then we split. Joel took Arizona, his first time picking Arizona this year, and he is stressed about it already.
I'm just taking him to cover.
I am taking the Devils. I'm taking the Devils, and I am also stressed about that one to put up that -1.5. They got to win that one by 2.
I might as well light $5 on fire, but whatever.
We got another one here. My best friend with an interesting stat. Last time a goalie not named Saros or Rinne started for the Preds was 2016. That ends tonight with David Riddick. Big save, Dave, starting against the Canucks. Wow. I thought Riddick started a game for them last year. I could be wrong, but I thought he did.
No, it was all because Rinne just retired this past offseason, right? So
he did, but I thought Riddick got in there for a game.
No, it was always.
I could be mistaken.
As I call him, it was always juicy.
Okay. Here it is for a home game.
For a home game, okay.
Okay.
But even
first home game since 2016 that it hasn't been Saros or Rinne.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I do want to apologize to who submitted. We will not have time to get to Would You Rather tonight.
We'll hold the Would You Rathers till next week. We'll
do 4 of them next week then. How about that? We were going to do 2 tonight.
We're going to close this show the way that we always do with our favorite segment, 2 minutes for roughing. We will put that time up on the clock. Joel, you are in charge of 2 minutes for roughing this week. All sorts of subjects that you could rough up. And I have a thought on what you might do, but we haven't communicated this, so maybe I don't at all.
I don't think you do. I don't think anyone does. I'm not mad. I will give that away. It's not going to be really roughing. It's it's a little pushing and shoving. I wouldn't call it a full on roughing.
So you're saying that we should give you 2 minutes for being pissy?
Yeah. Yes. I answered the question. Yes.
Time is on the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
All righty. So this week I need to rough up some Twitter goers. And it's not even just Twitter goers. It's probably a decent amount of Hawks fans. I have seen so much, and even with the winning streak now, just got snubbed, but I keep seeing like trade deadline kind of fast approaching. Sell the entire team. Literally, no one is untouchable. Trade away literally everybody. I don't care what their name is. While, yes, we should probably start rebuilding at least a tiny bit, maybe not a full-scale rebuild. I'm not going to get into that. That's for an off-season or a trade deadline episode. What I'm going to get into is anyone saying that they should just sell off everything right now. Trade Kane, trade Taves, trade DeBrincat, for God's sake, no. Trade Seth Jones, no one's going to take that contract. Trade whoever. Trade Fleury, whatever. Trade everybody. Why would any remotely smart business organization do such a full-scale change to all of their player personnel when right now the team is being run by interim people all up and down the organization other than the ownership? Why would Rocky sit there and be like, okay, I think his name's Kyle Davidson. Kyle Davidson, interim GM, make all these trades, trade away our entire money-making assets that are Kane, Taves, DeBrincat, etc.
And then why would you also want interim coach Derek King in on that decision as well? Everyone's interim. I'm not saying that their opinions aren't good, and I'm not saying that they can't make good trades and get good value for all this stuff. But why would you have an interim staff make such wholesale changes to the organization like that? If you're going to do it, wait until you hire the new president of, there isn't even a president of hockey ops. Wait until you hire him. Wait until you hire a new long-term GM, and wait until you hire a new long-term head coach. Come on, get some business acumen knowledge. Let's go. Probably could have kept going on that one.
You probably could have. I mean,
it's I'm so sick of hearing it though, where it's like, sell the team, trade everybody. It's like, okay, I'm not going to say like, why would we do that? We have a chance to win the cup. No, we don't. I will still sit on the hill that we could maybe squeak into the playoffs. I don't know if it's going to happen. But if Kane can get hot, if everyone can stay hot as they are right now, like maybe it happens. But why in God's name would you have an interim GM, an interim head coach, and a totally vacant president of hockey ops? There is no one in the position right now. Like, why would you start making wholesale changes to player personnel with interim people in those positions? That makes absolutely no sense from a business perspective. It makes absolutely no sense from a player perspective. You'd literally have these interim guys, unless they know ahead of time right now that we're going to hire Kyle Davidson as the full-time GM, which they're not going to do. And we're going to have Derek King as the full-time head coach, which I love me some Derek King, but that's not going to happen. Like it just makes no sense. Wait until you hire everyone. Wait until they hire Eddie Olczyk, and wait until they hire Kevin Weeks. That's my take right there.
Well, I already love that we've got you going, and the end of this show is going to be so triggering. I already love where this is going because you are getting chirped in the comments here. Joey says he'll be missing next week as he'll be on vacation. He'll text in, unlike Joel.
I'm giving you shout outs here, Joey, and you're gonna take shots at me like that? Come on now.
If you thought that was a shot, wait till this one. No. Good rant, Joel. If the Bears stuck out the season with Nagy, the Hawks can wait till the off season. Joel,
I don't even want to. Again, if we start a football podcast in the future, I'll have plenty of Bears takes. The joke of the NFL.
This is the greatest final 30 seconds of the show that we have had so far.
George McCaskey is pathetic, and I hope he somehow hears this. He won't, but I'd love if he did.
That is all for tonight's episode of Pod Snipe Celly. Remember that you can find us on demand on YouTube, as well as on the Apple Store, the iTunes podcast section, and on Spotify. We are live Tuesdays at 8 o'clock on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. 7 Central. Okay, fine.
5 Pacific.
8 o'clock
6 Mountain
Eastern
time
is the standard. That's what everybody goes with.
Ew, Eastern. Gross.
We are Pod Snipe Celly. We are powered by Noob Sports and the Sports 2.0 network. Once again, we want to give a shout out to Sharp Rank for helping us out with our pick segment. That is it for our show tonight. We'll see you back here next week at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock p.m. Central. That's Joel Fernino. I'm Dan Bradley. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.